passes. Thank you very much.
Your Los Angeles City Council has approved the Cirque du Soleil project, which now needs approval from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to move ahead. On Wednesday, August 5th, Council considered Item 31, a resolution supporting the immediate enactment of health care reform. Co-author of the resolution, District 13 Council member Eric Garcetti, claims Americans, Los Angelinos, must have the health care coverage they deserve as part of their citizenship here in the United States.
There's no more important issue right now that this country faces, I think, for so many families than ensuring that we have a healthcare system that touches everybody. And local governments like our own need to care about this very deeply too, because we stand on the front lines of so many crises that face America, from youth in our schools, homeless that crowd our streets, and the sick that fill our hospitals. Now, healthcare reform is a national issue, but one that local leaders confront every day. According to the most recent report of UCLA Center for Health Policy Research, 28%, colleagues, these are our constituents, 28% of Angelinos under the age of 65 are uninsured. Ours is the highest rate of uninsured of any city in California. In my district, the rate is even higher. 37% of my constituents do not have health insurance. So while Congress is at work on a national health care reform, we need to give them all the support they can get from the local level. I remember during the war when people said, well, there's no voice, we're invading Iraq and what can we do about it because, here we are in Los Angeles and we feel like Congress isn't listening. Well, what we did is we exercised the power that we had locally, and we passed a resolution against that invasion, saying that we should not do that preemptively without exhausting our diplomatic means, because it affects Los Angeles. Indeed, Los Angeles has lost more young people in that war than any other city in America, and that spread to other cities. And while the result ultimately wasn't what we wanted, we were not able to prevent that. We showed the power that cities have, that residents of our localities have, and that's today what we can demonstrate to our Congress and to our nation as well. What we want is health care reform that builds right now on the existing employer-based system and strengthens it, and make sure that everybody in America has health care. We need to ensure access to quality, affordable health care for all Americans and Angelinos that does not deny coverage because of a pre-existing condition. We need health insurance that offers security for Americans who lose their jobs or who want to switch jobs but keep their health care. We need health care reform that offers Americans who want insurance but can't afford it help that will allow them to purchase the quality, affordable health care that is so important to their lives and to their families.
Relaying a personal experience and saying the resolution is just a part of the puzzle, District 15 Council member Janice Hahn insists that Los Angeles take a stand.
That it is time for real health care reform in this country. We have all heard the stories, the horror stories really, of people in this country who cannot afford health insurance, of being dropped from their insurance company when they have a terminal disease. I remember when I ran for Congress unsuccessfully in 1998, I ran specifically on health care reform because my best high school friend unfortunately died of breast cancer because her health insurance company would not agree to fund what they considered an experimental procedure of a bone marrow transplant. I knew that that was wrong. I knew that this was America and that we could do better than that. And we can. And here in Los Angeles, we're trying to do our part. Our Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee just passed a motion that we're asking the city attorney to draft an ordinance which will help provide health care to our airport workers. Because we heard them tell the stories of waiting in the emergency room for 24 hours to take care of a child who'd been bitten by a dog, or having to choose between going to work or spending the whole day waiting in the emergency room for care. And we know that this is just a piece of the puzzle, that we need this country, this government, this president to finally change the way we've been administering health care in this country. President Obama and Congress' proposal for health care reform seeks to address the importance of providing access to quality health care for everyone, and that would include all the hard-working men and women who are currently not receiving coverage.
Standing to predict what the opposition to health care reform might present, District 6 Council member Tony Cardenas says the system is broken and adds if someone goes to an emergency room, we all have to pay.
We're going to hear a lot of rhetoric and a very well-paid campaign to fight the idea that we can have health care for all Americans and everybody in this country. And I just want to warn you that you're going to hear some very logical arguments, and one of the main arguments that they're going to say is that it will be a very imperfect system. Well, guess what? Every system we have is imperfect. And the system we have today is broken, and another thing that they're going to be saying is it's going to cost the taxpayers more money. But I want to remind everybody listening that in the Los Angeles County alone, we spend billions of dollars a year to try to handle the health care needs of our constituents, and we're not even close. We're not even close to handling all the health care needs of our constituents. And they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, the fact of the matter is our current health care system is in fact broken. It might not be broken for the person who lives in a very well-funded household, and it's broken for people, poor people, who are working hard every single day to feed their families. It's broken for them when they have to wait a whole day to get health care, where the only place that they can get health care is the emergency room. And I remind everybody, every time someone goes to the emergency room, we all pay for it. That's a broken system. So it's important for us to understand and be mindful of how clever people can be when they spend hundreds of millions of dollars to feed us a bunch of information that is half-truth on the airwaves. It's really easy to get clever soundbite information into our ears, but understand this: everything they say is not addressing the fact that our system is broken today.
Maintaining it's important for Los Angeles to weigh in on national issues when it impacts our community. District 6 Council Member Richard Alarcon believes the vast majority of people in the United States want everyone to have health care.
Wealth can be measured in a lot of ways, and for the United States to claim to be the wealthiest nation on earth, it turns a blind eye to the fact that part of life is your health care. And to not be able to provide health care to all, I believe it demeans the notion of being the wealthiest nation on earth. Frankly, compared to other nations that have far smaller economies, we're an embarrassment when it comes to health care provision. And yet, we have Congress members debating the details when the fact of the matter is the vast majority of people in the United States want everyone to have health care. So we shouldn't spend our time arguing about the details here in the City Council. We know that Congress will debate, and we know that they will modify, and we know that the President's first proposal won't necessarily be the last that emerges. But as a City Council, we need to send a message to create the groundswell of support that any measure to provide more health care to people in the United States will have the ability to pass in Congress. And so we want to thank Eric Garcetti for his leadership on this item. We are sending that message. The people of Los Angeles demand a national health care plan. And to date, we haven't seen it, because the healthcare system has been corrupted by profit motive. So this is a small step, but hopefully it will be joined by many other municipalities and other jurisdictions, because the people of the United States are very pleased to finally have a president who has the courage to take the shots for those details, to have somebody review each and every word, and yes, criticize him, but stand up and say America needs to provide health care to its citizenry. That would improve our economy by increasing productivity, by increasing reducing their sick time from work, by creating a nation that is truly not just wealthy, but also healthy.
Madam Clerk, if you please open the roll on the resolution. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. And we will send that We'll send that forthwith to the mayor, and if we can instruct our chief legislative analyst as well to share that with the National League of Cities for other cities as well to adopt, and we'll certainly be having a number of conversations with colleagues around the country to pass similar resolutions in their cities. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
The meeting for Friday, August 7th, was held in the San Fernando Valley at the Van Nuys City Hall, where item 21 was taken under consideration. That's an ordinance that would ban all digital billboards, super graphics, and certain other outdoor signs. Urging an aye vote, Chair of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, District 1 Council Member Ed Reyes, stands to clarify what the new sign ordinance will do.
First, I just want to say that this ordinance is about how we protect all of our communities in the city of Los Angeles. It's about having the ability to essentially define our space, and each area has, I believe, a concern to make sure that we have the capacity to control our environment. So this is about protection of all communities throughout the city. That being said, what you have coming before you is a substitute motion, and should have a number 3 on it. And essentially, this ordinance makes technical and clarifying language changes. I gotta wear glasses now. To the ordinance currently before you as item number 24 on the special meeting agenda. Importantly, it clarifies that the conversion of existing outside signs to digital displays is prohibited. So that language is included, and I appreciate your support. I believe it'll make the city stronger in its ability to advocate for its communities. I want to make sure we all understand that this is a ban. It's not a moratorium, it's a ban. So I want to make that very clear for the record, and to, again, be explicit about the request. So I wish to move that the ordinance marked 3, which should be on your desk, it's an ordinance, be substituted for the ordinance on the file. This ordinance makes technical and clarifying language changes to the ordinance currently before you as item number 21 on the special meeting agenda. So importantly, it clarifies that the conversion of existing outside signs to digital displays is prohibited. So I just want to say that for the record and be very clear about that. I also thank Councilman Rosendahl and my colleagues for their support.
Saying we still have a lot of work to do, Councilmember Richard Alarcon has questions for the Assistant City Attorney.
This is, I think, a very significant day for the city of Los Angeles. This motion is a long time coming. This ordinance is a long time coming. We have plenty of signs out there. We don't need more. The question is, how do we manage the portfolio? And while we are banning new signs from being legally posted, we still have a lot of work to do, and that is particularly with regard to the enforcement piece. If we don't get our enforcement act together, then what would stop somebody from posting illegal signs that are new? So we have a lot of work to do. We recognize that, but this is an action that I think is good for Los Angeles for the long term. It puts us in a better position to work with the existing sign operators and manage them in a way that is much better for the communities around Los Angeles. So I want to thank the City Attorney's Office for tailoring this in a way that I think will be beneficial to the City of Los Angeles, and also setting the issue of billboard blight in a context that I believe will be much more legally defensible, and also produce better results in a more expeditious way. The challenge is, of course, for Mr. Reyes, who is going to have to take those 17 amendments of the other ordinance. Maybe he can cull a few out because of this, I don't know, and bring that back as quickly as possible to bring to the people of Los Angeles the full menu of opportunities that we have to improve the billboard blight situation in Los Angeles and eliminate it from our midst.
saying enough is enough, and despite being on medical leave, District 11 Council member Bill Rosendahl joins his colleagues to cast his vote for the new sign ordinance.
For the record, our president, Mr. Garcetti, asked me to come in, even though I'm on sick convalescent leave, just having had surgery, and I'm recovering. But I came in because you needed 12 votes today to get this thing done and get it done now before we go into recess. I see the room is packed with lobbyists. So we know the special interests of the billboard community is heavily represented, and we also see Dennis Hathaway and a whole lot of community people that have taken a deep interest in it all, and I want to thank everybody for being here for this important moment. I came because it's time for us to say enough is enough is enough on the billboard business. It's time for this to go into place. Keep the moratorium tight. Mr. Garcetti is right. Ms. Perry has issues that have to be resolved. Mr. Reyes has spoken to me about it, and of course my great new colleague Paul Koretz across the 405 CD5, because we know how much we get assaulted by the billboards in CD 11, 5, 4, and a couple of others. Some of us feel it's visual blight. Others feel it's a safety issue. And we also know we're getting a very poor revenue stream, folks, off of these billboards. And we got to get a revenue stream, not just a placement buck, but every time they flip, and they have flipped to this digital, there's money they're getting, we're getting nothing. And we as a city need to figure out a good revenue stream concept for the whole billboard concept. But speaking for CD11 at this particular point, I remember that Saturday when Dennis Hathaway and a group of constituents and I started counting the billboards in our district. We found 563 billboards, 20 were digital, and 34 were illegally put up. And we put the energy going forward to get a handle on what is in our district and get a better understanding of where we are as a city and where we need to go forward. So I'm here today to hopefully be the 12th vote to move this ordinance forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Asking for clarification on exactly who the ordinance will affect, District 9 Council member Jan Perry explains why she is voting yes, even though she has some concerns on the signage ban.
It seems that I am between a rock and a hard place because I'm attempting to resolve some issues. Mr. Michelson has been, I have to say, Mr. Michelson has been absolutely tremendous in addressing concerns and answering questions. And for clarification, just so I make sure that we put this on the record, because it's important to the people in places like the historic core on Central Avenue, on off-site small neighborhood serving retail, to know that this will not affect them. Am I correct, Mr. Michelson?
Thank you, Councilmember Perry. You are correct. This ordinance does not impact or affect on-site signs, so retail establishments who are advertising their business and doing so in an on-site capacity. This does not affect their ability to do so. That is correct. The
reason that I wanted you to say that on the record is because some of the neighborhood serving retail spaces at the street level that are struggling to survive, especially now, were told by building and safety inspectors over the last several months that they had to remove their signs in their windows, signs, just signs. And, it was very, very bad for the small business owners. So the fact that this doesn't apply is very, very good news, and I'm glad that you clarified that. I would really like very much to vote no today, but I know that if I do vote no today, then it will carry over and this will continue. And I want to say to Mr. Rosendahl how much I appreciate him coming in, and as soon as we're done, I hope he goes back home and goes back to bed, where he should be getting some sleep. And again, I've registered my concerns to all of you on the record, and I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Reyes in taking our some 17 pending motions and moving them forward as we come back from recess. And so I will go ahead and do the affirmative act today with a great deal of hesitation and an enormous amount of concern that still is hanging in the air. I'm going to have a little faith in my colleagues. And again, I need to thank Mr. Michelson, because I think without his very pure advocacy, I don't think that I could reach this point today. But I made my points for the record. They're there for public consumption, and I'm ready to move on this.
Thank you. And with that, let's go ahead and please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith without objection.
With the unanimous vote, the council also issued instructions to the city attorney to ensure the law will go into effect right away. You can watch city council meetings live or view past meetings by going to the city's website at lacity.org and follow the instructions for video on demand. We invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to the Van Nuys City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. And now, those of you living in the Harbor area can go to the San Pedro City Hall, located at 638 South Beacon Street, room 700 in San Pedro, and also participate in council meetings via video teleconferencing. Remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m., and on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. That concludes our program for the week ending August 7th, 2009. On behalf of Jack Popejoy and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Mike Kaufman. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
City of Los Angeles. When duty calls, the LAPD responds.
911 emergency. How old is your daughter? She's 4 years old. Her name's Janelle.
I lost my puppy. Can you help me?
We have a critical missing. There is an Amber Alert, so let's look for any information you get. Pass that into the watch commander. Let's be careful out there.
To fight crime and to keep our streets safe.
You're going nuts if this is my daughter.
Push your units at 785-7855. 2 levels is encouraged for limiting Ardmore, Olympic, and Ardmore to the Child Market. Suspect found 958 West and started by Palm Street towards Olympic. Property taking is currency. Code 3. 7855, Roger. Calling 7050 West in quick pursuit of a 211 suspect southbound near the houses requesting backup. Any area that comes out of this frequency. Everything well. 795 was
To protect and to serve.
All units call for 11th and Catalina. Suspect in custody.
Standing with our community.
Las Vegas Police Department this morning issued an Amber Alert. The suspect is driving a black Honda Civic.
Working as a team.
Hey, what's up?
I think I saw that car that you were looking for. Is yours? Yeah. Let's go.
They take pride in what they do.
K910, code 6 on the
And when duty calls, the LAPD responds.
Positive on the vehicle.
Roger. Last like 2, we have positive on the Amber Alert vehicle. It looks like they found the car.
The LAPD is hiring. Become a part of the team. Visit us at joinlapd.com.
Graffiti removal? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to Councilman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City Council meeting for August 11th, 2009. We're here in the John Farrow Council Chamber, room 340 of City Hall. We meet here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and we also are in Van Nuys for the first Friday of the month in our Van Nuys City Council Chambers. I want to welcome all of our guests that are here in Council Chambers, as well as our viewers on Channel 35. Channel 35 broadcasts all of our council meetings live throughout the city's cable system and rebroadcasts us in the evening time. We're not only available on television, but for your convenience, we're also available online at lacity.org, and you can catch live streaming webcasts of our council meetings. We also archive all of our past council meetings online for your convenience, and those are linked to our agendas online as well. Finally, you can use your telephone to listen in to our council meetings if you're not close to a computer or a television, and call the following number, 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY, and you can listen into any of the council meetings as well as any of the committee meetings of the City Council as well. Our agendas, as I mentioned, are available online or here in person or through our city clerk's office. Those are made available 72 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance for our special meeting items. If you read through the agendas, you can see supporting materials online, all of the committee reports and the analysis from our chief legislative analyst and our city administrative officer. We also have there online our committee schedules and our council schedule as well. There's links to city departments and a host of city services to improve the quality of your life in Los Angeles and to get in contact with your elected representatives. Again, that homepage is lacity.org. On the agendas, the items are split into items that have had public hearings in committee and those that have not yet had a public hearing. If you'd like to be heard on any of the items today, we have speaker cards in the back. Please fill them out by putting your name down and letting us know which item you'd like to be heard on. If we've not yet had a hearing, that will automatically trigger a public hearing. On items that were heard in committee, it will require a council member to reopen the public hearing. We also have a section of the meeting for general public comment. That's for items that are not on the agenda, but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the city, and that's 2 minutes per speaker. And there's a code of conduct up there to help folks, as well as a clock to help you guide your time on the podium. I want to thank those council members who are here. Council members Huizar, Koretz, Labange, Parks, and Perry. We're still awaiting a quorum. So council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, and Wesson. We are awaiting the four of you to begin our meeting. Council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, and Wesson. We need 10 members or 2/3 to constitute a quorum, and to begin the business. Thank you, everybody, for patience while we await them. And if I could ask the sergeants at arms to inquire the whereabouts of those 4 council members, and we will find them as soon as possible and begin our meeting. Thank you. Our second quorum call for council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, and Wesson. Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, and Wesson, please make your way down immediately so we can begin the council meeting. Those members are late. Thank you again to those members who are here. Council members Huizar, Koretz, Labange, Parks, Perry. We have 6 members and are waiting the last 4 to begin our meeting. Council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, and Wesson. Thank you. The council members Alarcon and Hahn are still in committee. We're going to bring them down from committee. That leaves council members Cardenas and Wesson to join us. Council members Cardenas and Wesson, if you'll please join us right away. Thank you. We do have Ms. Hahn, and so Mr. Alarcon, Cardenas, and Wesson. Wesson. If we fail to reach a quorum, we will adjourn to last of a quorum. The final call for council members Alarcon, Cardenas, and Wesson. That he's chairing upstairs. If I could ask folks to bring their conversations to a minimum. We are going to recognize a council member. We have an item on the agenda a little later to vote on, but it's a special day in the history of not only Los Angeles as Tinseltown, but Los Angeles as the home of the Los Angeles Police Department. And I'd like to recognize Tom LaBonge to commemorate this day in which a new United States postal stamp that the city was involved in is being issued. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom LaBonge.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the City Council and the public. Today, the United States Postal Service will issue a stamp, and I want to ask ITA to roll it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Throughout the world, in the world of television with Dragnet, created by Jack Webb. Webb was born in Santa Monica, but raised right here in the center part of the city, a great graduate of Belmont High School. And that film, and that theme, and that radio program all work together to give the input of Los Angeles and its great police department. Today, the United States Postal Service will issue a stamp, a 44-cent stamp. Much more than the 3-cent stamp that Jack sent to then Chief Parker to tell him he wanted to start a show. But Dragnet, as I said, was produced and starred by Jack Webb, began in '49 as a radio show and one of America's most popular dramas. The name Dragnet is recognized by millions of fans worldwide. In 1951, the television industry was just in its infancy, and Dragnet captured the imagination of television writers, directors, technicians, and actors. Both the victims and the criminal featured on Dragnet were treated with respect. During the unheralded successful run on primetime television, thousands of Los Angeles actors, technicians, writers, and artists were gainfully employed. The only mistake I ever saw on Dragnet is once that Jack Webb said he was going westbound on Alvarado. And even Harry Ito knows that Alvarado is a north-south street. Dragnet portrayed the Los Angeles Police Department to a worldwide audience and projected a strong, admirable, positive image of law enforcement personnel. Just the facts. With the highly integrity achieved, hundreds of past and current officers have joined the Los Angeles Police Department solely influenced by Dragnet. Now, therefore, be it resolved by adoption of this resolution, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, the city attorney, the city controller, and the council of this great city hereby recognizes Dragnet for its more than half-century contribution to improving the image of the Los Angeles Police Department in a positive manner and influence the diverse harmony in our city, and continues to this today. It's signed by all members of council, including our former Chief of Police, Bernard Parks. Give Bernard Parks a big hand. Now, a council member. As well as our mayor and the president of the city council. With me this morning is Elaine Morales, a great lieutenant with the police department, and Paul Snell, a great captain. But also to my right is the one who probably influenced them all, along with your partner Reed. This is you're Reed, and Malloy was the other guy. It was Reed and Malloy, two young guys who were riding that 1 Adam 12. Please welcome the very great Kent McCord.
Thank you very much, John. I'm really honored to be here today. I'm sorry that more of the family of Jack Webb is not here. I'm honored to represent them and the fans of Jack Webb and the men and women who worked with Jack Webb. I happen to have been privileged to have grown up in the city of Los Angeles, born at French Hospital, that it was at now at the corner of, or was then and still is, at the corner of College and Hill. But certainly as a youngster in Los Angeles and before television, we had radio. And when Dragnet came on radio, it was something to behold. It was a show unlike anything that anybody had ever heard on radio before. And of course, as Tom has stated, when it transitioned into television in late 1951, early 1952, it brought along with it all the elements that made it such a hit on radio. It became an instant hit on television, winning 3 Emmys for Best Drama in an Action Adventure Show. And so today, to see Jack Webb's image up on these big screens and on a stamp, honoring Dragnet and making it Dragnet Day in Los Angeles is certainly a pleasure for me to be here, and an honor that I am proud to receive, and having the great city of Los Angeles bestow this upon an iconic individual as Jack Webb became, as Joe Friday, and the show Dragnet, as Tom stated, which is known throughout the world. Thank you very much, council members, for this honor, and to our mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kent McCord, Jim Reed. And Jim Reed was featured in Dragnet before there was 1 Adam 12. That's right. And I think you were going to community college, so they tried to catch you smoking marijuana.
No, we don't have time to talk
about
that
that's
story.
good. All right, that's it there. Hey, let's hear from our captain, Paul Snell, LAPD. Give him a big hand. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to say thank you for recognizing this day on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, the cast members and their families. Thank you very much. We have also passed around a copy of the agenda for today, the program for today, which actually has a 714 stamp. If you recall the show, that stamp was the badge number for Jack Webb. That will be sold today at the Academy in addition to the Dragnet stamp. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring you the actual Dragnet stamp. It won't be sold today until 12:30 this afternoon, but it will be available at the Academy at that time. And again, on behalf of the families of the cast members and the Los Angeles Police Department, thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain. And let's hear from Lieutenant Morales.
Good morning. I just want to thank the President and the council members. Again today, 2 o'clock, the actual ceremony begins. And I also want to thank the United States Postal Service, who we worked jointly with to collaborate this special event. And today is actually the only opportunity that we can also receive the actual cancellation of the 140th anniversary of Los Angeles. Of the police department. I'm sorry. So again, 2 o'clock, I invite everyone. We're going to have stamp collectors. We're going to have Harry Morgan, who will actually be there today. Mr. Stevenson, who is actually the narrator of Dragnet. And we will also have Kent McCord and Opal Webb as our primary VIPs. So again, thank you very much, Council.
Where do you go to high school?
Thank you very much.
Oh, good. And then, Mr. President, you'd like to know, Lieutenant Morales went to San Gabriel Mission High School, and that's where this city was founded, San Gabriel, which is the oldest city in the county. And Captain Schnell was a great Democrat from Jefferson High School, which I'm very proud of as well. So together we're here today, and I just tell you, the image of this city hall was portrayed heavily in there. It was a grand city hall that our forefathers and mothers built in 1928 that has cast a great legacy to Los Angeles. Congratulations. Roll that tune as I walk off the stage here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange, and thank you to everybody. Pleasure to have you here, Mr. McCord, as well, as always. I know he will be formally introducing them shortly as well, but Mr. Labange, if I may welcome the members of our civil grand jury who are here today as well from Los Angeles County. We thank you. They're in the first couple rows here. Let's give them a round of applause and thank them for their service to the community as well. And we know that Edward McIntyre is here, the foreperson. Just before we begin the calling of the roll, maybe he could tell us a little bit about what the civil grand jury does for the folks that are out there, viewers.
Hi, thank you.
Good morning.
The civil grand jury... Thank you. The civil grand jury is a group of 23 people that are selected on an annual basis, which serve from July 1st to June 30th of the subsequent year. This is separate from the criminal grand jury and was separated out about 10 years ago. The function of the civil grand jury is primarily as a watchdog agency over the activities of government within Los Angeles County and within the 88 cities within the county, as well as the LAUSD and the unincorporated areas of the county. Its deliberations are in secret, and it communicates with the public at the end of its term through a report which is published and which you can find on the website for LA County as well if you're interested. So we have a group of people who just have a month and a half underway. We're busy trying to find areas to investigate both within the cities and the counties and hope to have a meaningful report at the end of our term.
Thank you very much. And with that, Mr. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll, we'll begin the meeting.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Westenstein, Garcetti, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Koretz moves and Mr. Weezer seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Wesson moves, Ms. Perry seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. Next order of business, please.
Mr. President, this is Tuesday and there's a flag salute.
Mr. McIntyre, would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And if I could ask everybody to rise, please, for salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. If we can run through the agenda, please. Yes, Mr. Wesson? I see you have this is not Adoption Friday, so...
With this... Yeah, I decided to move away from pets. Now, she's a little shy, but I want to introduce my kind of sort of adopted grandchild, Madison Bai, who's Michael and Karen's daughter. How old is she, Michael?
3 months.
3 months old, and she's pretty in pink. Wave at everybody.
Thank you, and congratulations to the parents. If we can run through the items on the agenda. First items, please.
First items on the agenda, items 1 through 6, are street lighting districts, notice for public hearing. Council should continue the hearings and present the ordinances on September 1st.
Okay, colleagues, we have items 1 through 6, these street lighting ordinances. If there is no member that wishes to call those special today, we'll keep those open for public comment and continue those until the 1st of September, which will carry over, Mr. Clerk, till our first meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Next items, please.
Item 7 is a street lighting district ordinance, notice for public hearing.
Do we have any cards on that?
There are no cards.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Anybody wishing to call 7 special from the council? If not, let's go ahead and please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, that will carry over to a second reading, as an ordinance requires 12 members for a first reading, and we have 10, so that will carry over 1 week. Next items,
Which
please.
actually will be September 1st because of the recess.
Correct. Next items, please.
Items 8 through 26 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 8 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold 8 on the desk.
And, Mr. President, there are a few items to be continued. On item 9, there's a request to continue that matter to September 8th.
Is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing 9 until the 8th? If not, okay, we'll go ahead and continue that. Next.
On item 14, there's a request to continue that matter to September 22nd.
Okay, September 22nd. Any objection, colleagues, on item number 14? If not, go ahead. That will be the order.
And on item 15, there's a request to continue that matter to September 4th, and in the interim, referred that back to the Arts Committee.
Okay, Mr. Labange, on that?
Yeah, on that one, we'll have 2 new members of the Arts and Parks Committee. I want them to hear it, be able to come back to council, have all parties there. Not all parties were there before, and make a decision and make the recommendation, whatever it is, to the full body. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection on item 15, we'll continue that till the 4th of September, and in the interim, refer it to Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee.
Mr. President, one last thing. On item 22, I understand there's an amending motion in the works. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold 22 on the desk for the amending motion. And do we have cards from the public on any of these?
Actually, this is the has-been held section.
Oh, we've had them. Okay, so it will require reopening of public hearings on these, if anybody wishes. Mr. Huizar?
12 and 13 special, please.
12 and 13 from Mr. Huizar. Any other special items, colleagues? Mr. Koretz?
I'd like to call number 35 special and be circulating a substitute motion on that later on.
We're not quite at that section yet, but I will make a note of that. We're just on 8 to 26 right now. No other specials from 8 to 26. We'll go ahead and open the roll then on those items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Each of those is approved except for 10 and 11, which as ordinances will carry over for a second reading. Mr. Parks?
Forthwith today?
Yes, everything will be sent forthwith this week due to the recess. Next items, please.
Items 27 through 40 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. If there's no objection to considering those items, those are before us. If we can walk through the items that have cards, we'll call those special.
Items 27, 28, 29, 30, 33, 35, 38, 39, and 40.
Okay. We'll call those special for cards from the public, and also number 35 we'll call special for you, Mr. Koretz. Other specials, colleagues? We'll open and close the public hearings on the 5 remaining items. If nobody wishes to call those special, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on items 31, 32, 34, 36, and 37. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay. Those are approved. Next items, please.
On the continuation agenda, items 41 and 42 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call 41 and 42 special? Mr. Koretz?
Actually, I'd like just to move on item 42 that we add clarifying language to condition 22, if I might do that.
Yeah, why don't you give that orally right now?
Okay, it would be, the applicant shall contribute up to a sum of $20,000 for the installation of a 2-leg crosswalk at the intersection of Ashton Avenue and Holby Avenue, subject to the approval of DOT.
Thank you very much. If there's no objection, we will amend item 42 to reflect that, and that will be accepted as a friendly amendment if nobody objects on the council. Seeing no objection, that will be accepted. Sorry? Okay. Do we have any cards on 42? Okay. We'll call that special for cards since that's a substantive change according to the city attorney, so we will call that special. Anybody wishing to call 41 special? If not, let's prepare the roll on 41 and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, that will carry over as an ordinance as well on item number 41 until our next meeting. Is there any other items on the agenda, Mr.
That would take care of the items called special.
Okay. That'll take us to general public comment. Again, this is time for the public to speak on items of general nature that are not on today's agenda, but nevertheless part of the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles. I want to invite Zuma Dog as our first speaker. Mr. Zuma Dog, see in the chambers? Going once. Mr. Dog, are you here? And after that will be Dr. Clyde Williams. And there is the clock there to help guide your times. And good morning.
Yes, good morning. In case you don't recognize me, my name's David Salzberg, and I have been the executive producer, writer, and chief of staff of Zuma Dog. Yes, it's been hell. Somebody said it good, you've been undercover for the past 3 years exposing the fraud, waste, and abuse. So, yes, I am running for city council. I'm on the ballot. The election is September 22nd. And and if I could please have some quiet. If I could please have some quiet.
Go ahead, Mr. Dog.
We have a grand jury panel that is here today. I'd like to welcome the grand jury. It's like the cavalry riding in. They're here to observe. And in case people are wondering, well, gee, is this a big deal or not? Yes. It's not good times to be a city council member. So I'd just like to say that my name's Zuma Dog, and for the last 3 years, I've been coming down to city council to fight the fraud, waste, abuse, the corruption. I've given everything I can. I used to live in a place. I used to pay rent. I was a vendor at Venice Beach. I had a license with the city. They passed an illegal law in federal violation that took away my income. And I'm here to tell you, there's been much controversy about my living conditions, and I'm going to admit it one time here. People don't realize this. Yes, after I got my job taken away, of which the city was found to be wrong, I fell into homelessness. I ended up coming down here every day. I came down here. I didn't like what I was seeing here. And then other people were saying, Zuma, well, gee, Venice is great, but what about the schools? What about kids? What about the seniors? What about the waste? What about everything? Can you talk about that? I got caught up in the spirit. I've spent every second of my life over 3 years talking to the community. What are the issues? What are the problems? I come down here to represent that, to reflect the community, and to do as much leverage as I can to stop the wasteful spending. And so now I'm urging the people of Los Angeles to please vote for me, to put me in that chair, to represent the voice of the community, to crack down on the waste. My name's Zuma Dog. Please vote for me.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Our next speaker is Dr. Clyde Williams. After that will be Daniel Wright. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm the counterpoint. Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Caltrans and State Route 710, the infamous Caltrans, which went through a court proceeding and was told you're lying to the public, continues the same process.
I'm sorry, Dr. Williams, we'll hold just a minute. If we could ask all the conversations that are on the sides to move behind chambers, please, so we can hear the public testimony. We can ask the sergeants at arms to please move behind chambers.
Hello, everybody stop talking.
Hold on. I got you, Dr. Williams.
Yep.
That's my responsibility, not yours. Don't worry. Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Hey, Dr. Clyde Williams. Okay. Caltrans. 2 years ago, they said that we'll do a great feasibility study. Then they chopped it down to just a geotechnical feasibility study, and all of the steering committee approved it. Then recently, they've come up with more money to do the original full kind of initial environmental study document. However, there's one section in it that says they will hold only 2 meetings. 2 meetings with the steering committee and the technical advisory committee without any public participation. They lied 2 years ago. They're trying to get it passed early so that they can proceed with a full supplemental or substantial environmental impact report to get this through as quickly as possible, because some people have said, we have the money for it. We can get it started as a public-private partnership with a huge amount of debt. But it will get it going. So I would highly recommend that the representatives from the Public Works Department and from the 3 affected council districts make their comments on Task Order 5 and tell them stop it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a procedural item as Mr. Wright comes up. The card has been pulled on item 42, so there's nobody remaining on that. If we can take up the roll on 42, Madam Clerk, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you. Daniel Wright is our next speaker. After that is John Walsh. And following Mr. Walsh is Mike Colker. Good morning.
Good morning. Daniel Wright on behalf of the Friends of the Southwest Museum Coalition, supported by over 7,000 signatories on our petitions to save the Southwest Museum. We were gratified on June 30th, 2009, when supporters of our coalition significantly outnumbered the paid supporters of the Autry Museum in a hearing before the Board of Referred Powers in this chamber. It was filled to the aisles. Council members, the eyes of many in the city have been opened to the essential truth of the message that you have heard at this podium for 1 year. The Autry Board of Directors entered into the 2003 merger with the Southwest Museum with no intention of carrying out promises to respect the independent identity and integrity of the Southwest Museum. At the Board of Referred Powers, Councilmember Weezer showed leadership in asking for time to negotiate a legally enforceable condition of Autry's proposed expansion. Now, Mr. Weezer recently obtained a historic personal meeting with the Autry Board, but we understand that before Mr. Weezer could complete his presentation, an Autry Board member stood up and started screaming at him. The Autry Board then adopted a resolution refusing to agree to an enforceable condition, a condition that reinforces the promises Autry made in its broken merger agreement. Council members, the Autry, according to its own 2000 financial report, receives a $550,000 annual subsidy from the taxpayers of Los Angeles in the form of free use of valuable parkland. At the Autry Board meeting, the board chose to spit in the face of its authorized representative of the council, Mr. Weezer. Now the Autry is continuing to press for final hearing on its expansion, and you will be told that the Autry is going to take this museum out of the city of Los Angeles. Do not submit to their blackmail. It's a bluff. Please see more at the website friendsofthesouthwestmuseum.com. Thank you, council members, for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. John Walsh is our next speaker. Mike Colker will follow, and then Soledad Garcia is in San Pedro after Mr. Colker.
John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org. Here, I want to say, I am an employee of LAUSD, a teacher for a quarter of a century.
Mr. President, he should be speaking to the council as a whole.
You could address us, please, Mr. Walsh. Thank you.
If I had done that at the County Board of Supervisors, they would have allowed me to do that. Over there, everything is done by law. Over here, it's done by politics, okay? Mr. Weezer, they might arrest me for this, according to the LA Times, is under grand jury investigation. I ask you to step down. Could I say that at the county? No. Everything is not at the county. They may arrest me. I have to stand like this. If I move any way like this, they threaten to arrest me. Okay? Look at the county. They don't do that. I like to point out that I'm asking now for Monica Garcia, my boss, and she's a city official. I'm asking her to step down as president. She is under investigation by the grand jury. She's hired one of the top criminal attorneys in the city, and she's asked for limited immunity. Well, you don't ask for limited immunity unless you are going to be indicted. Isn't that right? See, now they're getting quiet. Because they're afraid of you, they're not afraid of me. I would like to testify in front of your grand jury.
Mr. President, we respect what you're saying. Excuse me, Mr. Walsh. We respect what you're saying. We don't have direct authority over the Los Angeles Unified School District. We'll stop your time. Mr. Walsh, please. I will. Mr. Walsh, excuse me for a moment, Mr. Walsh. I will hold your time. Mr. Walsh, I will hold your time. I promise you that, and you will get it back. I need to point out it is my jurisdictional responsibility that we do not have jurisdiction over LAUSD. So if you could please talk to Mr. Walsh, please give me the Mr. Walsh. I'm going to have to ask you to not interrupt me, Mr. Walsh. Sir. Mr. Walsh, if you continue to interrupt, we're going to have to ask you to leave. I give you the respect of listening. Mr. Walsh, stop. Now, if you can please use up the rest of your time and address us on issues that have to do with direct jurisdiction. We do not have authority over resignation of a school district official. There is nothing in the charter on that. And we do not have... Mr. Walsh, I get to finish my comments. And secondly, we also have no responsibility over any federal investigations. Now, you are entitled to talk about it, but please bring it back to something the city has jurisdiction over. We have held your time, and you have that time. I have not taken that away. Please finish.
Scared of the truth? You know, I'm a Jew like you. I don't have a Jewish name, but my grandmother was named Bertha Berger, and we know what it's like under fascism. We know, and you do too. You are a Roth. You came from a Roth. I'm telling you right now, we are asking Weezer to step down from his appointee of the mayor to the MTA. We're asking Weezer to come out and tell us what's happening. You're going to prison.
Our next speaker is Mike Kolker. As a reminder, and we do have a policy that not to disrupt the meeting. We welcome all points of views. We protect those points of views, but we do ask and demand that people respect, please, the process as we respect those speakers before us. Mike Kolker is our next speaker, and then we'll hear from Soledad Garcia, who is in San Pedro. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Kolker here? Mike Kolker? Going once? Going twice? Okay. We'll go to San Pedro next, and Soledad Garcia is in our remote facility. Then we'll go to Van Nuys and hear from Donna Pearman. Very good morning, Ms. Garcia. Good morning, Ms. Garcia.
Good morning to you, and good morning, members of the council. My name is Soledad Garcia. I'm here as president of the DWP committee and member of the neighborhood council of San Pedro. I'm here to thank you, President Garcetti and council members Perry and Wesson, for such a speedy and timely assertion of Section 245 of the LA City Charter, which exerts jurisdiction over the DWP Board of Commissioners' decision on August 4th. We're very, very pleased and very grateful to you. Thank you. The Board of Public Works voted to approve the resolution to modify the ECAF and the resolution to amend the electric rate ordinance. But by doing so, it puts into question the ECAF, which is the Energy Cost Adjustment Factor, a resolution as a pass-through, because the resolution becomes a means to raise funds to maintain DWP's AA bond rating. The ratings will provide DWP's ability to raise funds, which will triple rates in October if it passes, and we hope that it does not. Because of the base rate increase, the ECAF increases, and the electric rate ordinance. Coastal San Pedro has the motion to support to maintain the current 0.001 cap on the energy cost adjustment. We're very pleased with that. And you heard on Friday several neighborhood councils oppose the resolution within 48 hours after the DWP resolution passed. 70 neighborhood councils voted to express their concerns. And I see my time is up, and I thank you very much for your help and support.
Thank you very much, Ms. Garcia. Appreciate your testimony today from San Pedro. Donna Pearman is our next speaker in Van Nuys, followed by Lori Ravitz. Very good morning, Ms. Pearman.
Good morning. This is Donna Pearman, and I hope that Rosendahl gets well soon. I'm glad to see him on Friday. Anyway, I'm saddened to see the Daily News and others either reporting or darn right saying that city employees have to take the whole burden of the city on themselves. It has to do with layoffs and furloughs like the state employees. State employees are asked to take the burden of the state. This is not right. The people provide a service and have the right to be treated like professionals these people are. Sanitation is hard physically and takes intelligence, not just cleanup, and deserve more than basic cleanup employees. Our teachers, when for education, work longer than hours projected. The employees who work hand in hand with the fire and the police deserve to be treated with respect, and of course the fire and the policemen also deserve everything that they get. While the fight goes on, the City Council is spending our tax increment money to give to the CRA. Our property tax has to go up to cover the CRA. The millions spent on fee waivers, the Michael Jackson Memorial. You lower the flag while soldiers in Iraq, Afghanistan, elsewhere die or ignored every day. We use badly needed federal stimulus money so people can see half-nude women in circus. Nice family entertainment, I guess. IRESA brings in business and tourists, but it takes away from badly needed other ways to stimulate growth, which will benefit longer. The city employees should concede as long as the city council and our mayor, who's always works from afar, misspends our money and can't get revenue from billboards. We can't get money for rightful revenue from billboards and marijuana dispensaries. So let's use them. It's better than a ban. And the city council has to stop using all our money, and I agree with the Daily News that their salary should be cut in half because all they know how to do, city council members, not the city employees. The city employees deserve all they get because they don't make enough. The city council members,
Thank you very much.
cut your pay.
Thank you, Ms. Perriman. Lori Ravitz is our next speaker, and then Mr. Anthony back here in council chambers.
This is her first time here. I wanted to get her down here to speak.
No,
Go ahead,
it's
Lori.
not my first time.
Yes, it is. Oh, I guess it is.
I want to talk about the fire department and all the cuts they're making. My brother works for the fire department, and I don't think it's fair that they're taking away from the fire department trucks and ambulances. What happens if there's one fire station that has two emergencies at the same time? You can't be in two places at one time if you only have one fire truck. And also about the CRA that has to do with it. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much for your testimony this morning, and thank you for coming to Van Nuys. Mr. Anthony is our next speaker here in council chambers. After that is Michael Hunt. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, City Council. Good morning, viewers on Channel 35. This is intended for the new viewers on Channel 35. Let me catch up to speed here. The lies are coming fast and furious here from the City Council chambers. First of all, you must know that these 15 council members, along with the mayor, are the highest paid municipal officials in the nation. What have they done for the city? They've done absolutely zero. If this was a private company, they would have been fired a long time ago. They have turned our city hall politics into a pay-to-play scam which hurts every citizen here in the Los Angeles area. They have squandered billions of our money, our taxpayer money, and have left us with a huge, massive deficit, which will expose the most vulnerable, the elderly, and our kids. Our kids will be paying this for years to come. Wrap your brain around this. Our kids will be paying this for years to come. A perfect example is Measure B that was defeated this past March 3rd. All 15 of these council members were promoting and cheering for it. It was a $3 billion scam against us. Folks, they no longer work for us. They work for the private interest, the lobbyists, and the developers of this city. I just found out, I just heard now in the LA Times, David Sennheiser has said that Fabian Nunes is going to be working for the DWP as a consultant on top of the consultants. Don't you remember he was the one that was paid $85,000 when he was Speaker of the House to write legislation to black out our public access TV? He is now being hired here in the city of LA. These people have sold us out. They have sold us down the river. We have to take this city back. Activism starts with you. Get active.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Our next speaker is Michael Hunt. After that, we'll go to Van Nuys again, and Rick Nightingale will be our next speaker.
All right, my new press release is out. It's called Chief Bratton / Straw. It's a pretty good title. Here I come to you again saying that there's a racial problem in the city attorney's office. It's black and white. I filed the same lawsuit as Carol Sobel, and Carol Sobel get paid. I don't. Why is that? Because she gave it to me? Or because there's true racism among us? I do think so. The city attorney appealed mine after I won it from a 7-panel jury, paid out on the same lawsuit. It was word for word, verbatim as Carol Sobels. What is the problem? Just like I said, it's a black and white issue. I'm black and she's white. She got paid. I didn't. Now, they arrested me 29 times, and then we heard that my KKK outfit caused a disturbance, which was not founded. I had people review the video, but it's a sad day when black America is treated different than white America. But no less, Obama said it. He came out and said it. It happens. It's true. It's discrimination all within. The city of Los Angeles discriminates from the top to the bottom. That's the way it is. You guys should write the check for $478,000. Get it over with. Be respectful when you do it, and admit that you lost. You guys really need to get me back to work so that I won't be here. And you guys really need to get me off your case. The press release is going out either today or tomorrow.
Thank you. Just wanted to state for the record again, when we had Mr. Hunt in here the first time with a KKK outfit, that we did not state for the record, nor do we now, that was a disturbance there. We lost quorum because council members who found that abhorrent got up and left. Whether that, I just wanted to establish that for the legal record again. And as I've stated here many times, Mr. Hunt has the right not only to wear a T-shirt that says the N-word, but a KKK outfit. I certainly have the First Amendment right to continue to say that as an abhorrent and offensive thing, but he has the right to do that. Our next speaker is Rick Nightingale, and he is in Van Nuys. And after that will be Walter Bechtel back here in council chambers. Good morning, Mr. Nightingale.
Good morning, Rick Nightingale. I was for Hunt and all that. I told him I know he was going through the city because I had the same problem getting money out of him for this lawsuit. But I'm really tired of hearing about race. It really makes me sick. Just be a man and state your mind. Why do you have to bring race into it? Why do all you people have to bring race into it? It just caused conflict. And you're showing how immature and petty and blind-headed you people are. It's just ridiculous. Get up there, speak your mind, and tell, but leave the race alone. You think it's going to help? I don't think so, because it's going to get people mad at you. And then they go against you. And another thing is, on the 29th, when you turned around and went behind Chambers and you voted on this ordinance regarding what we can do on the council, I thought that was very, very bad for you people to go behind closed doors. That was very petty, too. That you people weren't man enough, woman enough, and so forth to come in Chambers and let us have something to say about it. That you go behind closed doors. You know what they say when you people go behind closed doors? You're hiding, or you're chicken, or you don't want to face reality. And that's about the way I felt about it. If you want to pass the ordinance, that's fine, but we should have had something to say, because it wasn't what it was when you first mentioned it, and then we read what you did pass. That wasn't what all came about. That was ridiculous, and I'll tell you, that was really bad. I'll tell you, that's been just cowardice, as far as I'm concerned. And then I find out Mr. LaBonche turned around here. Well, we turned around, and you can't take the $30 to $50 million from DWP, but then I find out that I'd like to have him say yay or nay on this, that he is going to get $10 million of it to turn around and go over to DWP's property under the power lines and put a bike path and a walking path and so forth and so on for that much money. So since DWP's keeping the money, they can kind of spread it around the way they want. No, give it back to us to help us pay for all this water that we can't use and so forth. We deserve it.
Thank you very much, sir. Our next speaker will be Walter Bechtel.
Thank you very much. I wanted to address something I talked about the KKK and black membership in the KKK. I found a quotation here. It was written by an author by the name of J.A. Rogers, R-O-G-E-R-S, in 1923. It's called the Ku Klux Spirit, He was a black author, and he was doing the history of the black people in America. It's a 36-page pamphlet. It's currently under press. It's available online, actually, through Target. It's published by the Black Classic Press, and the quotation I quoted there a couple weeks ago was on page 34 there, if you wanted to see about that. There's also several articles online and pages online that show pictures of black people who are actually Ku Klux Klan members. And I think that for somebody to say that that's solely a white supremacist thing is incorrect. Persons like myself who are Catholic were victims of the Ku Klux Klan. We very much know who they are. Also, I think that's all I wanted to say, except for we still need the inspectors out at the Ford Hotel to do the job. Schober has misrepresented the law when they've tried to say that the rent stabilization ordinance does not include the Ford Hotel because it's charitable. That may be so, but that doesn't mean that the laws of the state of California and the federal laws, as far as slumlording is concerned, are not applicable. We need Schober and SRO to stop slumlording the Ford Hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. Back to the San Fernando Valley for Miriam Fogler. Good morning, Jen, and all the members here and the public. You've got, if people here don't vote, you get what you deserve here at City Hall. You know, it's obvious. I mean, you people vote for Prop R to extend the term, and then, you know, Proposition H, which was passed 25 years ago to tie into the judges' municipals for every raise. And it says here in the Daily News, it says since 2005 they've gotten a 25% pay raise. So, talking about, you know, complaining about just city employees, on the average, they've gotten maybe 1.5% a year pay raise, and you can't retire on their wages so low already. My goodness, I mean, the gas is going up, you know, the speculators at Wall Street obviously is doing very well, and, you know, I can go on and on and on here. I talked to Jose Aguilar about the DWP contract with Colorado. You people just want to just make the whole Los Angeles dead here. I mean, is this going to be dried up? There'll be nobody here living here, playing or working. That's the bottom line. And I don't know where the services are going to go, because obviously you need the revenue to run the services here. I feel sorry, pouring my heart and soul out, because, you know, there's hard working men and women here working here at the city, and you people just, the unions need to wake up and stop this perpetual rolling downward of the, this is out of control here, and it's got to stop. And your pay need to be cut in half, more than that. And the city workers need to be returned, so they can at least have a decent retirement. And for the fire and police department, they need to have their services given back and not have cutbacks. This is not right. Thank you, Ms. Fogler. Thank you very much. Mr. Matthew Dowd is our last speaker.
Not before my public comment, Tom. What's going on? Matt Dowd. Thank you. Yes, I've come in through downtown Los Angeles, and there's all these billboard posters of the mayor, Villaraigosa. Thanks, Mayor, for fighting for clean energy. No, he fought to get some $3 billion tax boondoggle in where we put solar power on anything, where it was a crony deal with his friends in China. That's something you could look into. Thankfully, the voters voted that down, so it should be no thanks, Mr. Mayor, for not fighting for clean elections with the LAUSD. Now, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles tried to take a cluster of LAUSD schools under his control, and that's the city of Los Angeles, tried to take over LAUSD. It's against state law. Everybody told him, But then they went to court, and the court said, no, you're not allowed to take over LAUSD, Mr. Mayor, because that's an education department. So he loaded the school board with his candidates with dirty money. So no, Mr. Mayor, thanks for going to Iceland, because you probably got $7 billion in shady, like real estate and credit default swaps and who knows what that you did with Bernie Parks' pension money, because he gets $285,000 a year and his council salary, so you can forget the pension money, go bankrupt, that's my advice. Sorry, Bernie, you're going to get pennies in the dollar. And Eric Garcetti, tell Eric Garcetti to call Obama now. The health care reform's a joke.
Can we stop his clock?
The speaker should be addressing the council as a whole, not individual council members.
Mr. Dowd, you've heard the admonition from the city attorney. Please start the clock again.
You know, I lost my train of thought. That's what they do to you. That's what they do to you every day here. I'm so sick of it. Tell Obama that marijuana is legal in the state of California. So if we're going to have universal health care reform, everybody's going to come here from Mexico and everywhere, and the government's going to end up paying for their part.
Thank you very much. All right, that marks the end of our public comment. Mr. Clerk, what is our next item?
Item 8 is the appointment of Ms. Karen Nagao to the East Los Angeles Area Planning Commission.
Ms. Gao, would you come forward? Thank you. Mr. Garcetti.
Madam President, I know Mr. Reyes would normally introduce this nominee for our East Area Planning Commission, but is excused from council today. So I took it upon myself, since Ms. Nagao is a not only resident of CD13, but also of Echo Park, where I live. I wanted to congratulate you on the nomination, first of all, and thank you for your work. Clearly, you have incredible qualifications, planning, master's degree, as well as your undergraduate degree from UCLA, but also the work that you've done at the Little Tokyo Service Center, looking at their CDC and some of the affordable housing. If you would hold my time and just give us an idea of your interest in serving on the East Area APC and some of the things that you see in the planning and land use realm throughout the communities that are very historical, our original suburbs essentially are the East Area APC, as Mr. Reyes would say, of why you want to serve and what you think you can bring to the table.
Great. Hello, council members. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Kay Nagao, and I work for a nonprofit affordable housing developer in central Los Angeles, and I've served on several boards, both on the state and local level, including the California Planning Foundation and the Historic Cultural Neighborhood Council. My commitment to the quality of life for all residents in Los Angeles has grounded me in the community development field. I've also been involved with community planning in Little Tokyo, which has shown me the importance of the neighborhood perspective and understanding the importance of historic and cultural values of different communities throughout the city of Los Angeles. I'm honored to be nominated for the East Los Angeles Area Planning Commission, where each case is viewed on a local level. And I've shown my commitment, and I'm a dedicated urban planner, and I know I'll do a great job. So I'd like to thank all the council members for their consideration today.
Thank you. And for those who are viewing, and we said this before, but our area planning commissions came out of our charter reform, which gave a more local, regional voice for those planning and land use decisions that happen in people's neighborhoods, and everybody who serves volunteers for it. So it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, but we thank you for being willing to serve. We both live in Echo Park. It's just one example of a neighborhood, but there are many in the East Area APC region, Boyle Heights, where Mr. Huizar is, Lincoln Heights, Eagle Rock, LaSalle Park, Atwater Village, that have a lot of history in them. What can we do to better preserve that history and make sure that we don't raise that, the historic buildings? It's not been the wealthiest area of town, so it's been difficult for folks sometimes to bring back homes that have been stuccoed over, and we've lost many historic buildings. But you go to an area like Angelino Heights and you see how beautiful a resurgence of that can be. What sort of things can we do from your perspective on the Planning Commission?
I think the beauty of the local review is being able to take each case into consideration in the broader perspective, right? So we still follow the citywide policies, but we're able to look at the different elements within the community to make sure that they reflect the current residents and the growth of the future of the city of Los Angeles. the Planning Commission is able to review each case to see how the proposed development will benefit the current residents. And I think, especially for Echo Park, which has seen, it's kind of in a transitional period right now, and I've seen both good developments and developments that don't serve the current residents. I think that we need to be conscious about what developments we approve and how they reflect on meeting the residents of all Los Angeles, and that we make sure that low-income residents also have the right to the same quality of life and resources that the rest of the city has.
You led me towards my last question, which is obviously you have experience that you bring to the table from building affordable housing, and Little Tokyo Service Center and my office has worked together on that. I think there's a strong consensus to do that around here. What is your approach to communities in terms of looking at affordable housing and what role it can play, not just in preserving the social fabric, but even in beautifying an area like the East Area Planning Commission?
I want to talk about two things. One, I forgot to mention that the organization I work for also restores historic buildings, for your prior question. And one example is we took an old church and made it into a community facility where it houses the First Asian American Theater and First Asian American Media Center. So I think that adaptive reuse that is for the community is very important. In terms of affordable housing provides a home for many Angelenos, but it's not just a home. Our model is creating a social service on the ground floor to make sure that the residents are provided with life skills, with job opportunities, and also the kids that live in those buildings have after-school programs. So it should be a full-service center not only for the residents, but for the community as well. A good affordable housing project maximizes all the resources that are available. So we make sure that we develop partnerships with community organizations, local medical clinics, everything to make sure that the residents in the local community maximizes what is existing, and then we build upon those resources to make sure that the residents are on their way towards a higher quality of life.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I ask for your support, colleagues. It's clear we have somebody who is a real treasure for the city, and in planning, we have many great people who volunteer and come into planning fresh, but as somebody who's been a practitioner and a theorist of this, I think you're going to be a super addition, so I ask for your support today, and thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll on this item? Close the roll, and then tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Congratulations. Next item.
Item 12, called special by Councilmember Huizar.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And colleagues, I just wanted to bring to your attention a very exciting item which we are passing today, and it concerns the Bringing Back Broadway initiative. It's a 10-year plan to bring back our beloved Broadway corridor, which was once the heart of the city. And what's before us today is an entertainment overlay zone, which will provide guidance for private property owners to provide them guidance on the lighting design, to storefronts and design on the facades that will hopefully bring back the feel and the environment that once was Broadway. This, in conjunction with a streetscape design that is under review, will hopefully bring back this beloved corridor once again, along with the streetcar and our 12 historic theaters that we are currently working with the owners to bring back to life and to bring back its glory once again. Many thanks to go around, certainly my staff and the members of the Bringing Back Broadway trustees, also Gail Goldberg. She arranged our delegation to go down to San Diego to look at the Gaslamp District, certainly the LA Conservancy, the CRA, Mike Bueller he was the chair of the Broadway Preservation Planning and Infrastructure Committee, Patricia D. Fendor, who led the efforts on the city planning side, and her great team of Marian Ascu, Gabriela Juarez, and Nick Marezek. and Edgar Garcia from the Office of Historic Resources. I want to thank everyone who played a big part in this, including the local neighborhood council, Russ Brown, and many, many others. This is one of many of the pieces that are under works to bring back Broadway to what was once the heart of the city. I ask that you keep an eye on many of the happenings there because was once considered a 10-year plan. We've gained a lot of traction in just the 18 short months that it's been in place. So thank you so much. I ask for an A vote.
Mr. Russell Brown.
Thanks. I'm Russ Brown. I'm Executive Director of the Historic Downtown Bid and also President of the Downtown LA Neighborhood Council. This document that's in front of you is a community process that we spent over a year on. We met twice a month for 2 or 3 hours. Not only was the bids involved in this, the Neighborhood Council, the property owners, the businesses, the residents. It's a very comprehensive document, and I especially want to thank Jose for shepherding this through with his staff of Jessica and the planning department. This document really builds on previous documents of historic preservation working with LA Conservancy and the Urban Design Studios, and it balances both historic preservation and economic development. And we really look forward to moving this forward through the Bringing Back Broadway initiative. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. No speakers in the queue, so Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll on this item? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
And the ordinance will go over to September 1st. Item 13, called special by Councilmember Huizar.
Mr. Huizar.
Item 13, is there someone on staff who could come up to speak on this item? Thank you. Can you, as you sit down, briefly explain the types of projects that can receive funding within the recovery zone?
Natalie Brosiero's office.
Please hold my time. Yeah.
There are 2 types of bonds that would be part of the recovery zone. One of them is private activity bonds, and those would be private businesses, industrial, commercial, other businesses that fit within the economic development category. The second type of bonds are public bonds, meaning that the City of Los Angeles or one of its entities would issue bonds for its own purposes. And these would include capital projects, it would include job training.
Okay, and would a private museum qualify under this?
If it's a nonprofit, well, I think that, do you want to answer that?
For a private activity, on the private activity bond category, a private museum will qualify, and I believe the
Southwest Museum. Yeah.
Museum, it is in a state enterprise zone, and that it is in the recovery zone area. It will qualify as long as there's a bank, there's an investor to buy these bonds, correct?
Okay, so the Southwest Museum is within the zone, and given the rules and regulations that we have, it's possible that we could apply for funding to rehabilitate the Southwest Museum.
That's correct. Again, as long as there's a private bank to issue letter of credit or a private investor to buy the tax-exempt bonds.
Okay, and given the documents that are before us today, we as a city can still apply for some funding through this procedure and identify the Southwest Museum as a recipient if we meet all these other items you mentioned.
The allocation comes from the U.S. Department of Treasury. So the allocation has been set for us. What's before you today are the criteria and the guidelines that would be used to evaluate the projects to ensure that they meet the guidelines of the legislation. So no projects have been chosen yet or been evaluated yet, so this is just the beginning of the process.
Okay, so I'd just like to amend this, if possible, to ask that the CAO and the CLA report back on the eligible uses of the funds and specifically whether a private museum would qualify for these funds. And if we get a report back, what's the appropriate report back? If you could just report back to the full council, send the report back. I don't think it needs to go to any committee or anything. It's just informational purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. And there are no further speakers in the queue on this item. Any seconds. So, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll, close the roll, then tabulate the vote?
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 22 is being held on the desk for an amending motion that has been circulated.
All right, that motion has been circulated, and is there anyone who wishes to speak on the item? Mr. Clerk, can we just get a description? All right, the item's had a public hearing already?
Yes, Madam President, the item has a public hearing. This was a motion introduced by Councilmember Wesson, and it deletes the West Adams study area from the LA Hollywood State Enterprise Zone expansion application and replaces it with the Mid-City study area.
All right, let's open the roll on that item, close the roll, then tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 27 called special for cards.
All right, Mr. Zumadog is our speaker on this item. Mr. Dog?
Oh, yes, indeed. This is Rent Escrow, and I'm speaking as a qualified candidate on the ballot for CD2. My name's Zumadog, in case you don't recognize me, and I'm running for CD2. And something very important when I'm city council member, and please elect me, is the Rent Escrow program known as REAP. It's definitely a vindictive and retaliatory process, and I hope City Attorney Carmen Trutanich is listening, because if I'm elected city council member, the first thing I'll do is send her a letter to Mr. Trutanich to say the city is open up to massive class action lawsuits, crippling multi-million-dollar. I'm here to say the biggest thing to preserve the city's trust and treasury is about the REAP and the way the city is up for lawsuits. Now, what happens, for example, REAP is used to crack down on the mom and pop owners of properties, and what you do is you tack on things like, oh, you got to fix the fence here, you got to fix this here, you got to change these, but you tack on all these things until they can't comply, and then it allows the city council member to take the property over, hand it to their favorite developer, they kick out renters, they flip them into million-dollar condos, and everybody in Wendy Gruhl's district, if Zumadog is here to say anything about the valley that I have learned here, it's Wendy Gruhl and the way she ran roughshod with developers and violation of all these REAP things and did construction in violation, and just the whole middle class has left the city and sunk, and they do construction while tenants are still living there. And I'm here to say Zumadog for city council will make sure that I will fight to make sure the city is not illegally charging you for maintenance and fees and fences. Zumadog is here to say, after 3 years of investigating fraud, waste, and abuse, the REAP Rent Escrow program is the biggest racket in the city that opens them up for massive violations. They're on the way. I've been right all along, and please stop this violation.
Thank you very much. There's no speakers in the queue on this item. Would you please open the roll, close the roll, then tabulate the vote?
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 28 called special for cards.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Zumadog.
Put the item up. What? Okay, yes, this is what it'd be like. You know, I've basically been the 16th council member for over the past 3 years, hitting the button. I've attended more council meetings than the city council members themselves, and I've spoken out probably on more issues. And so wouldn't it be nice if I showed up like this? And I'm here to say today we're talking about the gang violence and youth development. And I'm here to say this is about the service providers. And if I could have some silence. We're talking about gangs. I'm here to say, if you want to crack down on gangs, there's something, and this is on topic. Do not say the school system is not on topic. I'm here to say that LAUSD is a gang factory. It produces the gang members and graffiti producers, and there's something called the parent revolution. The parent revolution, the LA Parent Union. And there's going to be a resolution at LAUSD coming up at the end of the month that will allow parents to sign a petition. It will allow people in Council District 2 and across the city to sign a petition that will allow you to go to your school and take control of that school and put in your own curriculums, fire principals if you don't like them, or start a charter. It will be tremendously empowering to the community, because once you sign a petition of 51 members of the percent of the people in the school area, and you take it to LAUSD, well, now they have to start listening to you. Now they have to start to comply. And if they don't give you what you want, community, well, then you yank it on them and you can open up a charter. So this is a revolution. That's why it's called the Parent Revolution. It's the pinnacle of Zuma Dog for City Council and CD2. Because when you talk about gangs, you have to talk about the schools. It's the gang factory. They produce the graffiti artists, and you cannot even afford to run the city. Because then you have to spend all your resources fighting the gangs and locking them up, losing productive members of society, and then meanwhile the city can't even afford that. They don't even have workers to do the good upscale jobs. So I'd like to say, take back the schools to crack down on gangs.
Thank you very much. Mr. Matthew Dowd.
All right, that was easily the most intelligent 2 minutes ever heard in these chambers the last 3 years. And I hate if that's some kind of insult, because I'm talking about me too. So, but yeah, this one, okay, look. Gang reduction, I talked about it a couple of years ago. It's not a police issue strictly. It's a social issue, and it belongs with the parents and the schools and the community. Because if you don't have the community on side, then you're not going to get the control of the gangs. And the reason you don't have the community on side is because you're too busy clamping down on all the dumb, stupid things around the neighborhood that get people's noses out of joint, and then they don't want to get involved anymore. People don't want to come down here and do all this because they get nowhere. It's banging your head against the wall. But here's what I do like to see is some transparency and some numbers and exactly where all this money's going, because this is the city of Los Angeles. The city who gave money to a gang program that was buying guns. And that happened right here. They did that. So I'm very suspicious of handing over money to anybody with this gang projects. We need to get the parents and the community back involved, and the way to do that is to start listening to the people who come down here. Vote out the people who are not listening to you, and that's Sunland Tahunga. Here's your opportunity. Do you want another suit who's just a career politician jumping like Tamar Gallatin, jumping from, she's jumping out of LAUSD after a minute. A hot second. That's called a hot second on the street. So the mayor, that was a total waste of money unless he wants to put her in here and start being a yes girl in the valley now.
Thank you very much. That marks the end of our public speakers. There are no speakers in the queue on this item. Would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Then tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 29, called special for cards.
All right, Mr. John Walsh.
I think that the City Council and the federal government is doing an excellent job on 29. I speak as someone who has, on occasion, been a teacher for LAUSD in East LA. This is a congressionally mandated award. The federal government's been watching you, and when the federal government watches you folks, you do a good job. It's when the federal government doesn't watch you that we have the problem. So I want to congratulate. I remember the days when Ramona Gardens was a no man's land. Those days are gone. I wish these programs could go into other neighborhoods rather than the favored neighborhoods. And I'd like to point out that the grand jury is gone because all they're investigating is the early part, the public comment part of the meeting. And the N-word in the city now, up here, you cannot use it. Excuse me, you're allowed to use the N-word here, but you're not allowed to use the MG word, Monica Garcia. Isn't that really strange that you can use the N-word, but
He is
not the MG
not
word?
talking about this item.
All right, thank you very much. There are no speakers in the queue on this item. Please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 30, called special for cards.
All right, Matthew Dowd and then John Walsh.
All right. federal money. This is one. See, this city council ought to thank us. I'm waiting for my resolution. Thanks, Matt Dowd, Zuma Dog, for keeping us honest. Because we could have gotten a lot more trouble if we weren't up here telling you how to do things around here. And quite clearly, you got in trouble over a bunch of things. Even the federal judge ruled in favor of Michael Hunt to the tune of $268,000 and $207,000 in costs. So the city is taking money from the federal government, and we want to see transparency, and this is one of the things that we talked about. Perhaps if we weren't here, these things wouldn't be on the agenda in so much detail. The decorum's getting broken around the city council. Dennis Zine broke decorum over...
Madam President, he is way off topic on this gang-related item.
Stop his time, please. Mr. Dowd, if you could please get back on topic. We would appreciate it. Start the clock again.
Right. I'm trying to get to the point where everything in this city relates to the general fund and the money that we get from everywhere and how you use that money. And finally, it's saying the right things, but as usual in the city of Los Angeles, they say one thing and they do another. So I'm worried about where this gang money is going, this federal money. It's just another thing that's going to be front-end loaded management. These not-for-profit groups who get this money, they take it all up front, really makes it down the street, and the gang factory keeps going. And that's what it is. You wrecking the community with all your dumb ordinances, and the gang factory's going to keep ticking.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walsh.
Point of order. I see Huizar name listed as here. I don't see him in the chamber unless he's invisible. Again, you're doing an excellent job. We need federal audits of everything that's going on. Don't forget, this Thursday, when you wake up, HollywoodHighlands.org will have a new post concerning adultery between a politician.
Mr. President, he should be admonished and removed.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All right, thank you very much. That marks the end of our public comment. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on this item. Close the roll and then tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item 33 calls special for cards.
All right, we have a number of cards on this item. Our first speaker will be Dr. Clyde Williams. Dr. Williams.
Dr. Clyde Williams, El Sereno. The usual, $1.5 to $2 million if you annualize all of this. However, there's also the phrases, the event sponsor shall reimburse. Has there ever been an audit of the reimbursements required to fulfill all fees and costs associated with the events? I doubt it. However, the neighborhood councils, as demonstrated this morning, they have to go through a whole bunch of things, and they have to be audited by a commission, and all of the grievances have to be aired, and there has to be a lot of special procedures, all for about $5 million for 89 neighborhood councils with at least 10 to 15 people in each one, sacrificing 3 hours a month or more. So why not have the same requirements against these special events accounts as you do against 89 neighborhood councils? Maybe the 89 neighborhood councils could do a much better job, especially on those event sponsors who shall reimburse the city for all fees and costs. Have an audit of all of this, because you're talking about maybe over the last 3 years, $10, $15 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. John Walsh is our next speaker. And you have, Mr. Walsh, you have 2 minutes left on the clock for today.
I'm off the topic already. Ladies and gentlemen, second, I can't talk to you directly. These special events, we had the fire department down there, the brave men and women of the fire department, picketing, because there's no money. They've cut the ambulance services. Did they tell you? They got a report. They didn't talk about it. But let's look at the money they're spending here. Something called shorts. That's all it is. B, declaring shorts a special event. Okay, remember, when you call the ambulance and it comes 15 minutes instead of 5 minutes, the paramedics. Here's why. Here's why.
His continued discussion of irrelevancies.
Mr. Walsh's clock. Mr. Walsh, your clock is stopped. City Attorney has to give you an admonition. Mr. Attorney, please proceed.
The speaker's continued discussion of irrelevancies is disrupting the meeting, and he can be asked to leave.
Mr. Walsh, again, you must stay on topic, or we'll have to terminate your time. Can you stay on topic now? Start his clock again.
I got 1 minute left.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Mr. Dog. Mr. Dog, you have 1 minute left today.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and the rest of City Council. My name's Zuma Dog, and I'm running for City Council in District 2. And this is such an important item because we're talking about the entertainment tax incentives. Although it's downtown, it affects the entire city. Hollywood has left. We've overpriced ourselves. We've made it too expensive to do business in this city. And so one thing I'd like to say is that this still will not be enough. This still will not. City Council, as usual, is doing things after the fact. Hollywood has already left because of the things you do here every day, and now you give them no reason to come back, and so you're trying to deal with it after the fact. So they'll sit here and they will give tax incentives, which of course we have to do, but first council needs to talk to Hollywood and really put some things on the table and say, gee, if we provide you these tax incentives, are you going to come back? Are you going to do your productions here downtown? I still don't think this is enough, but in 1 minute I can't say why, but if you elect me, I will take care of it.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Our next speaker is Donna Pearman and Van Nuys, to be followed by Miriam Fogler.
Okay. This is Donna Pearman. I'm against having the entertainment business get all sorts of tax breaks because as long as you go against the city employees and they complain about and not give the city employees their raises, I don't see why these people who have the money, the entertainment business, should be able to get all these tax incentives. And downtown is already being ruined enough with its high buildings. And actually, every time I see the entertainment business, they always seem to close off everything and they ruin the city. So I don't see that the business is doing very good. And I'm going to shut off so that I just want to say I'm against it. I'm going to let Miriam Fogler do a lot better than I did right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fogler, on item 33.
Yeah, the Daily News had an ad over the weekend showing Nevada with the big lip saying, businesses, leave California, come over here. Well, you know, that coincides with your entertainment industry. Of course, you know, they find any way they can to make all the profits, and then, you know, you don't build here correctly with the CRA, with the entertainment industry, which you did with the $30 million circus. This is actual fiasco, the way you're doing business here. And it just draws people to go elsewhere because you don't take care of business right here at City Hall. The way you build things, the way you do business, you know, for the city. It's a big discouragement, and it's a turnoff from a lot of people coming back here, staying here. So you're just anti-business. You're anti-public service. You just don't care about the public's welfare anymore, and looking out for the welfare of the people here to receive the kind of life that should be here in Los Angeles. business entrepreneur and having a place of enjoyment for the family to attend. I don't appreciate seeing figurines, showing over at with the 30 million circus showing off body showing off. I think this is very bad for our kids. And you talk about not using foul language, all that, using sexual explicit stuff in front of children here. I would like not to have the hypocrisy in our entertainment industry. So the incentive is that they should be providing service here, and you should be not taxing them out by taking away, and building other things there and then pushing them out.
Thank you very much. We have one more speaker card, Matt Dowd, on item 33. You have 1 minute left, sir? And you have a card on 35 as well, I think.
All right, well, Zumadog could qualify for one of these at some point. He's got reality cameras coming after him. He could have TV shows and some kind of a whole thing. He could qualify, but I guess you can tell Mr. Alarcon that he's not a failure if you look at Zumadog where he's going right now. He's doing everything right, running for the city council. There was an inference that he was, had mental health problems and homeless problems and all these things. But anyway, my problem with this one is the CLA. Okay, you're getting him and the CRA to analyze these things with downtown Los Angeles and the movie industry. But see, the CLA, he's meant to be the chief legislative analyst. The guy smokes cigarettes. He doesn't even understand the warning on the side of the cigarette.
Sir, if you could please avoid personal comments.
I think it's relevant.
I know you do, but I'm asking you as chair to please not make personal comments like that, and please discuss the ideas that are before us. Thank you. I will close our public comment on that. Ms. Perry is on the queue from the council.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This item is asking the city attorney to present and prepare an ordinance to revise the municipal code to exempt multimedia businesses from paying the multimedia business tax, with a requirement that businesses file with the Office of Finance on an annual basis in order to receive the exemption, that a 5-year sunset date be included on this exemption, and that the Office of Finance report annually on the effectiveness and the impacts of this exemption. Currently, 49 businesses register under the motion picture multimedia classification, which generates almost $70,000 in revenue on an annual basis. This is a template upon which to build, and is just a small part or a piece of what should be our citywide effort to retain and increase film production and production in general in Los Angeles. So I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barry, and thank you for your work on this issue. Anybody else from the council wishing to be heard? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll on this item and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item called special, please.
Mr. President, for the record, back on item 9, that was the scheduled joint meeting with the CRA Commission and the council on the East Side Adelante project, and the board could not obtain a quorum for today's meeting, so they will continue that to August 20th. Hear that item separately, and then the city council will hear it separately at its meeting September 8th.
Okay, so we will not have a concurrent meeting on that, but we will hold those in serial fashion. Next, we will go to item 35, is that correct?
Item 35 was being held on the desk for a substitute motion for 35G, and that has been circulated.
That has been circulated, so we have Ms. Pearman in Van Nuys, Donna Pearman, and then Ms. Fogler. Good morning again.
Good morning again. Anyway, I missed the flag salute. I don't know where it was. Anyway, they make sure that they make sure the fee waivers before they go on recess. Especially the GUELAQUETZA, and the second one is OQAQUENA. We spent $3,500. As an event, I don't even know what it is or how to pronounce, yet we pay for it. Why does the city employees have to feel guilty for good benefits while we pay for every different event for every different culture? Isn't there a better way to finance it? I'm not against cultures. I'm against the way we finance it. How come the city continues with fraud and abuse while you continue doing these fee waivers and all that money on that circus also? We care about parades. We care about parades, block parties, celebrations while Rome burns. Yes, we fiddle our own burns. Yes, our city is falling apart with the blessings of 14 council members and our mayor. Our city needs to be in better shape. But it can't be with our constant fee waivers. 3 times a week they do fee waivers. They get into the thousands, and sometimes they have events that go way over like 28,000, 30,000. And how can anybody go up there and say that the city employees shouldn't get their cost of living increase? And with the city employees having to retire on like 54%, if they work for 25 years, that's disgusting. It should be at least 70%, because how can you live on that 54% of your salary? I'd like to ask the city council members if they can do that. But of course, you can go probably with a lot higher. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perriman. It's pronounced Guela Guetza Oaxaqueña. Our next speaker is Miriam Fogler.
You sure can. Your salary's cut in half, boy. You'll know what I'm talking about. When you're talking about helping out these fees, how dare you? You're taking it out of our economy. You know, people who are seniors retiring, they need that money to spend for our economy. And you're a disservice to the poor, because they do donate money. And this is an outrage that you can retire in 12 years and get the same amount of money as someone working 25 years. I think it's an outrage, getting the same amount, because you get big enough salary to doing it, and you're keeping the other people down.
Mr. President, I don't think she's talking about the special events.
Well, you are. I am. You're just wasting our money on these fee waivers. It's an outrage, and your criminals, in my opinion, should all be going to jail, because of what you're doing here is an outrage to the city employees. That's a chutzpah.
Thank you, Ms. Fogler. Just as a point of information, the costs for our special event, the private ones are reimbursed, the public and community ones are not. Either way, those costs are actually to pay the salaries of city employees. Matt Dowd is our next speaker on this. Oh, he's out of time? Okay. And we have John Walsh. 1 minute left, sir.
Thank you. Some of these people who get paid are a lot of people don't understand. This is not LAPD over here, these officers. It's another fine department called General Services. They do an excellent job. I've been down here. Sometimes I may give them a hard time. They're professional. One gentleman over here I've known for 15, 16 years. Throughout this building, no one does a greater job here than the guys with the guns and the ladies with the guns, the general service officers. But let's take a look at what you're spending money on. $2,000 annual taste of Larchmont. Taste this, Larchmont. I want ambulances. And the best of all, a potluck. Labange and Garcetti, $1,022, Sycamore Square. Hey, I'm not paying for your damn potato salad while the ambulances are coming later and later. For shame, City Council.
Thank you. And just also a point of clarification, that wouldn't be going to pay for food. That is for the city employees for that party, which is open to the public. We will now open the rolls. Mr. Kretz, we already circulated. Do you want to speak on it?
No, I just wanted to point out that you have a substitute motion on 35G.
Okay.
It's just minor changes to time and location.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kretz. We'll accept those as friendly if there's no objection. And please prepare the roll on this item and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 38, call special for cards.
Dr. Williams, on item 38.
Dr. Clyde Williams, El Sereno. The ficus tree. This is actually a more appropriate item for the Board of Public Works, which regularly replaces, relocates ficus trees in street sittings. However, tomorrow you're also going to have a presentation by the Community Forest Advisory Committee. All tree removals should have the approval of the neighborhood councils. There's a report that neighborhood councils are notified, but nobody ever seems to document it. There's no emails, there's nothing, so that we wind up having to replace trees without the community inputs that should be required. By the way, we're never going to meet the 1 million tree requirement because we're only replacing about 16,000 trees a year, but we need 20,000 to meet the 1 million tree requirement. Thank you.
All right, that will close public comment on this item. If we can prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Item 39 was called special for cards. We have, for the record, Mr. Dowd and Mr. Walsh, who reached their limit, but we will include their cards in council file. Any members wishing to speak on item number 39? Please then open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you, and thank you again, Mr. LeBond. That was from our presentation earlier today on Dragnet Day, and again, the first day of sale for the Dragnet stamp in the city of Los Angeles will be in just about 40 minutes at 12:30 today in the nation. So thank you, Mr. LeBond, for that. Next item called special, please.
Item 40 called special for cards.
Okay, and that was also a card. Mr. Dog had reached his limit, so are there any members that wish to be heard on that? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused Friday, September 11th for personal business that meets council policy.
All right, reluctantly, we will excuse him.
Councilmember Rosendahl requests to be excused October 9th, November 24th, and 25th for personal business. A motion is required for the 25th.
That'll take us down to how many members?
10.
On November 25th, you said?
On November 25th.
Okay. I will move that for now and also talk to your colleagues about the folks that are excused to make sure we have a little bit of a cushion there. And Ms. Perry seconds without objection. That excuse is granted.
Councilmember Zine requests to be excused Wednesday, September 9th for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Zine is excused.
And Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Friday, October 9th for city business that also meets council policy.
All right, Mr. Parks is excused.
Clears the desk.
All right, colleagues, any announcements? Any announcements? Mr. LeBonge?
Along with Councilmember Parks, we were at the Coliseum, and the great Rayford Johnson got his bronze plaque on the peristyle of Historic Memorial Coliseum. A great job by Pat Lynch and the Coliseum staff, as well as Margaret Farnham. And Rayford, who lives in the city, has been involved, originally from Kingsburg, California, is one of the greatest athletes of all time. And it was a great honor to be there along with Mr. Parks and also present him a commendation from the City Council. Rayford Johnson, great American.
Thank you. Other announcements? If not, can I please ask everybody to rise for our adjourning motions? Can I ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our adjourning motions? Mr. Koretz, if you don't mind, if we can rise for our adjourning motions, please. Colleagues, I asked today that we adjourn in memory of Judge Robert Takasugi, U.S. District Court, who passed away last Tuesday at his nursing home at the age of 78. He spent more than 3 decades as a jurist, most of them on the federal bench, and during that time he heard many well-known cases, including one that resulted in the federal government's release of FBI files related to musician John Lennon following a 25-year legal battle. He was known for being unflappable, even during cases involving infamous antics, such as when the publisher Larry Flynt disrupted proceedings in the 1984 cocaine trafficking trial of John DeLorean. At one point, Flynt donned a diaper made from an American flag. More recently, he opined that a post-9/11 law requiring airport screeners to be U.S. citizens was a constitutional deprivation that cost too many non-citizens their jobs, and the law was later amended to make permanent residents eligible for these jobs. Judge Takasugi moved with his family to Los Angeles when he was 11 years old, and shortly after they arrived, the Japanese-American family was relocated to Tule Lake as part of internment during World War II. He said that the experience was an education in being fair and something he kept with him for his entire life. After the family was released and returned to Los Angeles, he graduated from Belmont High School and then UCLA, served in the U.S. Army, and then earned a law degree from USC. Prior to being on the federal bench, Judge Takasugi served as a LA Municipal Court judge and then a Superior Court judge in Los Angeles after having had a private law practice in East Los Angeles. He's survived by his wife Dorothy, as well as a son, daughter, and 2 grandchildren. May Judge Robert Takasugi rest in peace. All members. We'll do all members on that. Mr. Labange?
He was a great judge and a very special man. God rest his memory.
Thank you. Anybody else on Judge Takasugi? Not, okay. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'd like to adjourn the memory of Harold Johnson, who passed away this week at the age of 97. He was the husband of one of our family friends, Doris. He was, for many years, Harold was the vice president of Weber Aircraft, which created the design of the ejection seat, which was an invention that later saved Neil Armstrong's life. He's survived by his wife, Doris, a daughter, Karen, son, Douglas, brother-in-law, Alan, as well as 2 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, 2 nieces. He was a remarkable man who had a great life, and he'll be missed dearly by his friends and family.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Are there adjourning motions? Mr. Labange?
Members, I ask we adjourn in memory of Angelina Del Valle, who is the mother of Isabel Cardenas, our El Salvador Sister City Chair. She was a wonderful mother and lived a very good life. I ask we adjourn in memory of Angelina Del Valle. Also, members, I ask we adjourn in memory of Cecil Smith, a great Los Angeles Times veteran writer, television critic. He lived to be the age of 92. He died in retirement in San Luis Obispo, survived by his wife and sons. Cecil Smith. Finally, I ask we adjourn in memory of Gail Storm, actress My Little Margie. You remember from a show, The Gail Storm Show, and Oh Suzanne. I remember that show in the opening scene of the ships that are down there in San Pedro and the big horn that blew. Gail Storm was much loved as a professional. She survived by her sons and daughter, 8 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. I ask we adjourn in memory of Gail Storm.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Norma Clifton. Was born November 1926, passed away July 2009. Norma moved to Los Angeles with her 3 daughters in 1961. She was a strong advocate of the arts, culture, and education. Norma would not let age limit her progress. She enrolled in LA City College, transferred to Cal State Dominguez Hills, and earned her bachelor's degree in public administration in 1978 at the age of 52. She then moved on and received her master's degree from Cal State University San Bernardino in 1996 at the age of 69. She had a variety of jobs. She was a seamstress, a pattern maker, an artist, an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, and also a certified occupational therapist. She was involved in many community activities. In fact, she was involved with 2 neighborhood councils, active member of the Lemert Cherrywood Block Club, the NAACP, and the National Democratic Party. She's also was involved in her faith in the local Buddhist temple. She is a person that's basically survived by her 2 daughters and 7 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. Many of us may be aware that her daughter Cheryl Meshach was a city attorney and passed away several years ago, and now her mother joins her. So we ask also that we adjourn in memory of Howard Ransom, Jr., who died at the early age of 55 on July 26th. Howard was an advocate for at-risk youth and disadvantaged adults in Los Angeles. He was an advocate of the LA Unified Adult Education System. He also volunteered in a variety of organizations from Brotherhood Crusade, Youth Foundation, United Way. He was an instructor for LA Unified since 1986. He was a tenured master teacher at the Maxine Waters Employment Preparation Center in Watts, where he succeeded in preparing at-risk youth and educating adults in human development and skill enhancement. He was noted nationwide for preparing students for their GED tests. In 1992, Howard co-designed a civil service training program that focused on postal employees for residents in Watts. More than 800 men and women enrolled in this program during the first year, with 68% completing the class and passing the exam in the highest percentile. Graduated from Oakland High School, received a bachelor's degree in theater arts and African American studies from Cal State Hayward. At the time of his death, he was in residency as a scholar in the Tom and Ethel Bradley Foundation and International Civility Curriculum. He is survived by his mother and also his wife Linda, and a variety and host of relatives. His services are were held August 3rd at the Christian Academy in Inglewood.
Thank you. Do we have any other adjourning motions today? If not, Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll? We'll next be in session tomorrow. That is the 12th of August, 2009, and then Friday we'll be out of